Poems titled Can I Be Black? Can I be black without being followed around the store as if I'm going to steal a product without paying for it? Can I be black without the negative statistics attached to me as if I'm not my own person? Can I be black without dribbling a ball or rocking a mic as if those are the only professions that defines a black man's success? Can I be black while running or walking down a street in a suburban area without being told I don't belong there? Can I be black without being judged by the way I act, speak, or conduct myself? Can I be black to have my sons see me grow old and decrepit, for me to be present at their weddings? Can I be black without having my life cut short because of after the 400 years of horrendous memories seeped into this earth? Can I be black without having fear in every choice I make? Even when I'm wrong, I still deserve a second chance. Can I be black because I didn't choose this, but it chose me? So I will carry my blackness with grace and authenticity. Can I be black? Yes, I will be black, unapologetically, because being black is me.
All right. So that right there was my brother-in-law, Dale. He wanted to be on today, but he couldn't make it. It's my sister's birthday week. So of course he's gonna turn up and do all the little lovey-dovey things for her. But with it is another episode of Divine Time. I gotta give a shout out to him. That was his first time ever really reciting one of his poems in front of anybody. He was scared and he was scared. But I feel like he did a really good job. He asked me for some pointers. I was like, bro, honestly, put down the emotion that you wrote put down the emotion that you felt when you wrote it. So I mean, did a couple takes and that was the income. I was like, let me throw a little bit of like background music on there real quick, just for like
definitely.
But I feel like he did a real good job. So big up yourself. Much love, respect, Dale.
Oh, he did a great job.
Yeah, you can. He was really upset because he really wanted to be on here tonight. I was like, it's okay, bro. There's a few more coming up. I informed him of I have a couple more topics that I have planned for the upcoming week, so I'm gonna inform y'all of that afterwards. But with it is episode Divine Time. I'm your boy Downly Divine. I got with me Rio and Mr. and Mrs. Sigma Uno. With that, I'm sure we've all done introductions many times. So the biggest thing I want to do now is just go ahead and cut straight to the chase. I mean, everybody comes here, they're like, why don't you get to the point? It's like, you know, fuck you, then I will. Shit. So with that, let's just go ahead and get right into it. What it's like growing up as a black person. I will go ahead and kick it off because I mean my stuff isn't really that cool. For me, I kind of grew up. I'm gonna stick with the one that really kind of made me who I am today. Growing up in Hawaii. Hawaii, everybody thinks it's sunshine, coconuts, and it's a straight, lovely life. Like, yeah, it is. It's like the worst place to live. But the time that I was living there, there was a big thing going on between like the locals and people of color, and especially if you came from a military background, you were a big no-no because if anybody knows anything about Hawaiian history, they were ultimately taken over by foreigners, which people who are closer to this color, which they call haoles, pretty much meaning commoners, foreigners. They use it more as the same way that people would end up using the term nigger back in the day. So, I mean, with it, growing up, I was called popole quite often. Didn't really understand what that meant until I learned what that meant. And then I was just like, man, F you. So, with it, that's kind of the N-word. But then also at the same time, I'm not sure if you've been Hawaiian Samoan. They're pretty big. Like you can kick them in the balls and they're just gonna laugh at you like choo and be ready to fight more. And you're just like, bro, like y'all like ogres, y'all got layers. Like I don't know how y'all do that. I grew up fighting with Samoans, which is one of the reasons why you hit me now. I'm just like, okay, cool. I'm hitting harder. Let's keep it going.
Right.
In Hawaii, there was gangs. The gangs operated, I would say, differently than how you would think, or they operated differently than in California. I lived in California, seen how they move up there. They move differently, completely differently than the East Coast. East Coast, I guess, depending on where you are, you move according to what works for where you are. And in Hawaii, my stories, some people on the West Coast were like, the fuck? And some people on the East Coast were like, the fuck? But then people in Hawaii understood. Like, for example, drugs and weapons, DHL was the primary carrier of that stuff. I'll put it like that. So that you saw the big yellow van with the red letters on the side, chances are they weren't just delivering regular packages.
Mm,
And
mm.
it's
Wow.
a lot of people were fighters in Hawaii. MMA was big back then. I actually grew up doing Muay Thai and MMA. Like my story when it comes to fighting is I did boxing for probably like a month and a half. I got kicked for the first time. And so I picked up kickboxing. And then I ended up learning about Tiger Muay Thai down in Sand Island, down in Hawaii, island of Oahu, aka the concrete jungle. And with that, I stuck with Muay Thai ever since. So as I was doing that, I always walked around with a duffel bag. So for me, it was interesting because I always had two duffel bags on me. One with all my gear, the other one with things that I never asked about. That was always told to be here, look for this person in this color shirt, wearing this and this and this, pick up from them, and drop it off on here this time. And with it, I was bus, so I didn't have any issues. I would have to say my biggest thing about growing up melanated in Hawaii, because in all honesty, I would have to say that took most of the life that I remember. Um, it was a lot of you being looked at as if you did not belong, which is something that I also was familiar with when I was living in California too. There was a lot of people always looking at you like you were always the issue. Anywhere that I went in Hawaii, whether it be in Kalihi, Waianae, Kapolei, if I went down to Kalihi, if I went to Pearl City, Salt Lake, I think the only time I really fit in is when I was on AMR. AMR was Ali Mountain Military Reservations, which was a military little reserve to where when Pearl Harbor hit them and everywhere else was overflown, they took those overflow. They took everybody who could fit there and pretty much sent them to AMR, which is just a giant thing. It was full of a bunch of military, mostly black folk, ghetto as shit. Half the house was run down. It was pretty much the ghetto for military. And with that, that was the only time I really felt like, oh, I'm around other individuals that are like me. But at the same time, you had individuals from all over the country and even of the world sometimes. So sometimes you even felt like you were battling against your own people, just based off of the way that they thought and the way that you thought and the things that y'all have gone through. So sometimes people they were better than you. Sometimes they feel like you thought you were better than them. So it was like it was in Hawaii. It was difficult because you wouldn't some people because they felt like some sense of entitlement, like they were above you, or either they felt that you thought that you were above them, or either you're fighting against the locals. You felt like you don't belong there. This is their land. You need to leave. So I mean, it was always interesting. I've had situations to where I've been threatened with objects. And when I say objects, I'm not talking about always with knives. I've been threatened with a screwdriver. I've been threatened with a BB gun that I didn't know was a BB gun until the dude fired, and I was like, "Oh, that's a BB gun. You can gas me." I have dealt with a situation to where I was trying to get on the city bus, and the bus driver didn't want to let me on because he felt like there was too many of us on there already, which was interesting. I was like, "Wait, there's too many black folk on the bus, so you don't want to let me on, bitch? I gotta go to school." But whatever. So I mean, that right there was interesting for me. Now again, I'm not better than anybody, and I'm not saying I'm worse than anybody. We all have our own stories, our own situations, and things that we have gone through. And me personally, I feel like mine really wasn't that bad. Looking back, talking to people, looking at how other people have grown up, mine really wasn't that bad. I'm not going to go into situations that I've been in as I grew up, just because of the fact that That right there I fell into the stereotype. But not trying to live the stereotypical life, the things that I have gone through, and I'll have to say that Hawaii was my biggest factor when it comes to me feeling a certain way because it was kind of pushed upon me like I don't belong. So then therefore I felt like, you know what, I don't belong. This is what you think of me, that's what I'm going to be. Use my language. Uh, but ultimately, as Mr. Walter has seen through me, that's not truly who I am. That's not really what I want to be. Be that that's what I felt I needed to be because everybody made it seem like that's what I was. And as I didn't really know myself. I lost my own character, and with that, I started trying to become something that I was not. I was trying to make myself believe that I was this, even though everything in my essence was telling me that I'm not that. And that led me down a path I'm not completely happy with, but it did have a lot of life lessons. Had a lot of life lessons in it. But with it, I'm gonna go ahead and pass it on to whoever wants to speak next.
Wow. Heavy. Uh, this is. I just thinking back to. Yeah, my childhood was checkered a bit. I had. Oh, I have. Hold on, can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. I had a bit of a checkered childhood, and I know what I said this before. We said this on other podcasts before, but my dad was in my life until I was about 13 years old. But I understood the importance of the of having a father at that age because he was building something in my mind or trying to help me understand what the world was like. The hard part was when I finally did reach that age, I had this belief system that my mother gave us, and I understand why she did it because she did it out of fear. She had 6 boys and 3 girls. So the boys was the ones she was really worried about because of the street life. And she moved us away from California because most of my family members were a negative influence in that. So you talk about gangs. Oakland was Oakland. We didn't really consider ourselves gang per se, but they formed, and it's so crazy. They formed this group from block to block, something like LA, how LA was, but different. They claimed to be something more respectful, but they were just as grimy and and ugly as the people that were in other states or in other cities. They just they were there to get what they wanted to get. And so I think it was by the time my mom sent me away back to California, I was 17 years old. And when I got there, my introduction to getting back to California was meeting my cousin at the gas station. I mean, at the bus station, Greyhound bus station. And he brought me to where my uncle was, his dad. And for what I didn't know that they were in this track of doing business. So they were going to take me to my grandmother's house. But on the way, they did some pretty ugly, jacked up stuff. And just collecting bills from people, um, knee breaking, just some really crazy, ugly stuff. So that was my introduction to it, to the streets as it was, really serious. And these guys didn't. It wasn't a pretend thing with them. It was do or don't, and they were 100% reckless with everything they did. So when I finally did make it to my grandmother's house, her and my grand aunt was there, and she pulled my grand aunt pulled her son to the side and told them I was off limits. And my grandmother told him the same thing. And she told me very clearly, she said, look, I don't want you hanging around them.
Mm-hmm.
They're bad news, blah, blah, blah. We had the conversation, and I was like, I'm clueless in my head. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, okay, I got it. I hung around where my grandmother was, trying to help her because she had been paralyzed from a stroke. So one day, my other cousin, younger cousin, comes by and is like, "Hey, let's go hang out." And I didn't know we were going to hang out with them. We got there, finally got there, and when I tell you some ignorant shit was happening, it was the movies make it seem like it's something almost fun to do, almost something fun to replicate, but it's not. When you see somebody get stabbed up close, the blood is real. You see what I'm saying? When you see somebody get hit in the face up close, it's real. You see the connection, you see all of it. So we walked into that. We walked into this argument between my cousin, one cousin, and another cousin. The other cousin stabbed one cousin. The other cousin pulled out a gun and shot his own brother. And it was like, it was crazy. It was crazy. So I'm watching this stuff, and during this time in my head, I'm like, this is not what I want, really. I mean, it wasn't a thought of what somebody else wanted for me at the time. It was me making a decision in my head, like, no, this is not what I want. This is not, no. But for them, it was like, hey, this is the thing to do. This is the life we live. Either you with it or you ain't. So there was a time when we hung out by my aunties and my grandmother's house. They tried to be somewhat respectful, but to a point, um, I was sitting up. Basically, I was sitting out. There was a field. There was a fence around my cousin Judy's house. They told me to walk inside the fence. They had something to talk to me about. I walk inside the fence. I don't know who hit me, but I dropped, and I got back up, and I started fighting. I started swinging. And anybody was standing close, and all I could do is hear fists swinging at me, and I could hear people laughing. And I blacked out by that time. I'm swinging. When I finally came to, my lip was bleeding, my chest was hurting, my stomach was hurting. I was sitting on the steps, and everybody standing around me laughing. It's talking about, yeah, you're a fighter, man. You're gonna be an asset. And I'm like, asset? What the fuck just happened? And so my cousin walks up to me. Hold on, just a second.
Shit, that sound like the blue arena for me, bro.
You had it.
It's going down.
You got put on. You got put on.
That's
Nah,
a beat in.
You was in Oakland? You was in Oakland, so they brought you home, bro.
He definitely got put on.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely got put on.
So the thoughts that were going through my head at that time was I didn't really want to be there. And I didn't know what to expect. I got sent to a place.
Oh,
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
every
Man.
time.
For
It's like
real.
clockwork. It's like clockwork. You already know. You already
Every
know.
time.
Yeah, it sounded like he got put on. Bro, man walked through that back door, and then right there,
Yeah, he
he got
definitely
he
did.
got he got put on right then and there, and didn't even realize it. I mean, it
Mhm.
sucks. It
Exactly.
sucks. That's how it happened for him. I'm not sure if
Yeah,
that was how his family was, if it ran in the family or what. Sometimes
that's
things happen
crazy.
that are against your choice, and I mean
Yeah,
that's the thing that gets me because I'm like a lot of times individuals end up getting put into situations that they didn't even ask for, and I mean it sounds like that's exactly what happened with him.
yeah, that's definitely what happened. All right, you back now?
Okay, we're here if
Can
you're
you hear me?
ready. Yes.
Yep.
Oh, y'all can't hear us?
Hold on just a second. I think we're in a bad area. Give me a second.
One Mississippi. All right. So yeah, with that, I'm gonna go ahead and continue the conversation real quick because I mean, A lot of times, we as individuals are put in situations that we didn't ask for, and then we oftentimes end up getting judged based off the things that we were put into. Also, sometimes it feels like people try to bring out a side of you just to try and have you fit the narrative of what they want to say about you. And I'm like,
Yeah,
and
that's
this,
true.
it almost feels like he got put on because either the family that he knows or those that he was around was in. So therefore, it's like, no, if you're going to be around us, we need to make sure that you're not a liability.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was the long and the short of it. So mine's at the end of the day, I found out. So I think we talked about this a little bit, but when we talk about the Black Panthers, we talk about gangs. Period. The only time those cliques were started was they were supposed to be responsible for the community that they were in, right?
Community Reform
So
Project. Hey.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and we at that point there was a knowledge about the area that you lived in that you wanted to help change or you wanted to be better. So
Yes.
we're coming out of the 70s into the 80s, going into the 90s, right? So when I found out the clique that my family was talking about that we were part of the Klan was Black Pearl Family. That's what they called it. So when I was trying to find out what is this all about, and one of my older cousins was walking, it was like, man, your mom started this, and I was like, my mom, and I had to understand. I was like, why would my mom start something like this? And then later on, understanding what the Black Panthers are doing, understanding what other so-called gangs were doing um, to help the community, I understood why she started what she started, but she
Yeah.
didn't want it to be the way that it was. You see what I'm saying? It went completely dark for our family. When I tell you these dudes, and I know you guys have been out there seeing it. These dudes were 1,000% reckless. They didn't care if anybody saw them with a gun. They knew police officers that was crooked. When I tell you, I seen some shit that I didn't want to see, literally. And I'm not
Mm.
going into any more detail, but my thought pattern after all that was like,
Thank you.
this cannot be life. This can't be what life is about. And in addition to that darkness, walking down the street in Oakland, there was 2 times a day that you should not be walking down the street. It's nighttime and the early morning. I found out the hard way. Walking down the street, leaving a messed up situation, trying to make it back to my aunt's house, got rolled by the police twice. Dragged me into an alley. I'm thinking I'm going to jail for what? They're beating the hell out of me, literally. And the only thing that prepared me for that type of beating was my mom's beating. And I think once or twice I got hit in the head and I blacked out, and it was like I was trying to make myself stay awake so I wouldn't die. And then when I finally stood back up, dude hit me again, and he rolled me over like he was getting ready to put me in handcuffs, kicked me in the backside, and walked away. That happened 3 times. Not the same way, but it happened 3 times. And I realized later on, their job was to instill fear in you that you couldn't walk past the police, you couldn't be on the streets. If you were, this is what's going to happen. So those are the thoughts going through my head. Besides the other regular shit that we deal with, walking into a store, being followed by someone, everybody. Then before you get to the cash register, asking you if you got money in your pocket, as if you're going to steal something. But these are all things that were built up by things that happened in the neighborhood that wasn't even me. Like the gentleman that was doing the poem. Yeah, we're stereotyped based on the things that other people have done that's been put in the media. So now when you see a black man or a young black man, they up to no good. They're gonna try to rob you, and that's the way it was. It didn't matter what city you went to, didn't matter what state you went to. Your face was black. If you're in a nice area, it's worse, 10 times worse, because You got people women clutching their purses, standing back from you. You got people whispering, and before you know it, the store clerk walks up, whether you got money to buy something or not. They're asking you, well, what are you doing here? I'm in the store buying stuff like everybody else. Well, you don't have to say it like that. You don't need any attitude. I can refuse service. Refuse service for what? I'm just in here shopping like anybody else. Sir, why don't you just leave? Leave now. For what? What did I do? Basically, I'm black. I am the way my face looks. If you're looking like you're angry, you're an angry black man. I'm afraid of what he's gonna do. So I don't understand. I hate the concept of us being shot on sight or randomly, whether we're armed or not. But that is the narrative that's been written. We are dangerous for some reason, with or without a weapon, and that's true cosmically. But as far as physically, if I'm walking non-suspecting, walking, minding my business, enjoying my day, and you're pissed off or you're scared because I could possibly do something to you, that's the life. It's messed up because it's how many years later? We're in 2024, and I'm warning my kids and other young black men about the same thing. So when people talk about things are changing, for who? Not for us. It ain't changing for us. It hasn't and it won't, because obviously we're a threat for some reason. And I mean, I can tell you a million one stories. All I can say really right now is I'm glad that I'm alive, because I've been through some shit. I've been through a lot of shit. It makes you hard, and I think that's what they want. They want you to walk around with stone in your chest and not a real heart. Obviously, that's what it eventually happens to some. I have close friends, and family members that are just that way. They don't think about it. They just do this ugly. They just are this ugly, angry person. And I had a brother that was like, "Hey, if this is what they're looking for, this is what I'm going to give them." And that's exactly the way he is. Randomly, that's the way he is. It don't matter who. You look at him the wrong way, it's a done deal. That's the way it is for him. And I try, when I tell you I try so hard not to be that way. But if you're around me, there are times that even in my thoughts, I have this look on my face and Miss Sigmono's like, "Look, fix your face." And I'm like, well, I don't even realize that I'm looking that way. You see what I'm saying? But shit has been this way for so long. I've been roadblocked for so long. It's like, fuck it. I can't even think of ways around this shit anymore. I'm tired of thinking of ways around this shit. It's been so many roadblocks, so much misconception of who I am. I've explained myself in school settings. I've explained myself working jobs, and I'm tired of explaining myself. Why? Because of the color of my skin. Or you going to church today? I work for corporate America for 20 plus years and got the same questions every time I walk into an office building. I wore corporate blues. I tried to dress to where nobody was asking me no ignorant questions about whether I'm going to church or not, or whether I was a pimp or not. But it didn't work. They didn't see what I was wearing. They saw my skin. Literally saw my skin. They didn't give a damn. Oh, this dude is trying to dress up. And one dude went as far as to say this monkey's trying to dress up. And when I tell you my skin crawled, I wanted to break his whole face off. But I'm like, man, if I give him what he wants, I'll be in prison for the rest of my life. You have to stop. You have to. When I tell you, it's crazy. It's that way, though. This system and the people in it. And it's a teaching to anyone, whether you're white, Hispanic, black. There's a lot of people that don't like us.
Hey, Mr. Sigmund.
For what reason?
I'm gonna roll to the next person so they can go ahead and get their story out. And we're gonna continue with this because you got some things you want to get off your chest. I can feel it. Hey, Rio, I'm gonna go ahead and slide you in the box next. All right.
Oh, what's up? So, shit. Me growing up, well, I grew up like any average black kid in America. My mom had 2 other kids. different fathers, and pretty much I had my, like Mr. Sigma, I had my father until I was about 14 years old,
Mm.
and then he passed. And I can understand what he went through as a young man trying to navigate life without a father. Those are important years.
Yeah.
So my background was very, very shaky. Like we never really stayed in one place for too long. My mom was in the Navy for a couple of years, and that was pretty cool. But we were bad kids, so for real, dude, we stuck out. Like we've tied babysitters up. We jumped the Easter Bunny.
Damn.
Yeah,
What
like
I,
my mom did. Hey, my mom did her best. Like she was a single parent, and like we were just bad. Like we've almost set the house on fire, smoking paper. Uh,
Well,
shoot, we
Damn.
got we got taken by DFS because she had to work and we had to be home alone. And we were bad kids. We were just in there making too much noise, and somebody called the police.
you are the
And
whole reason why they have that saying "F them kids."
yeah, we were the reason. Like we were the reason people say that. Like we were bad. We were hard to deal with. But my mama, like, she's a special person, and that's what made my life so much better than like where I could have been.
Mm.
And like Mr. Sigma Uno, but my family didn't go about it that way. Like they simply just, I had my family members ask me, and I wasn't with it. I like, as a young kid, I already knew my place in life, so I knew that that wasn't something that I wanted to be a part of. I seen too much, like, and I also knew the fact that if I had a family member that wasn't a part of that gang and they had beef with somebody that was in that gang, I would have had to take the gang side, and that wasn't what I was about. So I just never really got into nothing like that. But trust me, I've dodged a few bullets.
You
Literally, a few
okay? I'm about
bullets.
to say literally or figuratively speaking.
Nah, that's the literal sense.
Shit.
Hey, I think that's something
But
that everybody has dealt with, just being in this color. It's like you kind of get in where you fit in. It just so happens that always ends up having to be one of the situations at some point.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I know the feeling of going into the wrong neighborhoods on either side. Either you go into a white neighborhood and you're riding through there at the wrong time, you're gonna get stopped by the police or somebody's gonna ask you what you're doing over there. And honestly, in
Mm.
Florida, the same goes for like going through a black neighborhood. You go through the wrong neighborhood and you don't know nobody there. Nah, we don't really have gangs, but in those neighborhoods, if nobody knows you, you
Mm,
getting jumped.
I believe it.
Like, and it's been crazy. Like Mr. Sigma Uno said, like that shit looks nice and when you looking at it in a movie when it's on the TV screen. That shit looks exciting. It looks, it looks amazing. But when you up close and personal and you see somebody get stabbed and you see the blood come out, that's reality right there. Like
Yeah.
your whole existence stopped right there in that moment, and you don't know what to do. I've seen people get shot. I've seen people get run over by cars. Like I've seen people get acid thrown on them.
Mm.
Like growing up black ain't really what it is. Like no lie. It got me to a point where no lie, sometimes I hate being black for the stupid shit I see.
Mm.
Like I love my people and all, but it's crazy because more and more we progress as a people, we digress as well because there's this one group of individuals that just like ignorance.
yeah.
And until we get that group of individuals out of the media, nobody's ever going to look at black people any other type of way.
Exactly.
So
Facts.
Exactly.
The cycle's just gonna continue. And me personally, I feel like these youngsters are just getting even worse.
More reckless.
They're super. Yeah, it's not even reckless. Most of them, they worship money.
It's the root of all
They
evil.
worship materialism. So,
No, it's not.
when you worship materialism, you really ain't got that much in the brain, because
Right.
all your mind is on how can I get this? How can I get that? Oh, I have to have this. I have to have that. Like when I was 13, 14, 15, shit, we was homeless. But I ain't
Mm.
never think in my head like, hey, I need to go sell some drugs so me and my mom can get us a place. Hell no. I had little side hustles. I would go cut some grass every weekend just so some one year my mom wouldn't have to get me no shoes or nothing. Or like if I wanted something for myself, I would go
Mm.
buy it for myself. Like that's what generation I came from. I've had a job since I was 11, 12 years old.
Mm.
So if one thing my dad did instill in me before he passed on to the next life was like work hard. And no lie, it kind of sucks because from a young age, I understood that no matter how hard you work, just some people ain't gonna get to where other people will. And
Right.
that's fine. And I realized that I really don't want to be no super rich person. As long as I'm comfortable in life, shit, I'm happy.
Right.
That's what I'm searching for because living black, that shit is hard enough. For
Telling you.
real. So as long as I
Telling you.
can find happiness in life, I'm good. That's a life worth living.
Right.
Respect. Hey,
Definitely.
impossible.
Hey, yo, I mean, growing up black, growing up in the childhood. I mean, everybody hit it on it. You know what I'm saying? I don't think we've taken into consideration of what our childhood is meant to be and what it was dysfunctionally orchestrated and what we experienced. You know,
Mhm.
they created dysfunction for a reason. That's why we all have um, ideas and moments, and we are speaking about the dysfunction that we grew up in. So we're defining what growing up black is from a state of dysfunction. And I don't think that's very healthy.
Right.
I don't think that's
Facts.
very healthy because yes, we had to endure what was created by the ones who monetize our death. They monetized our death. So me growing up as a kid, I didn't grow up with a father. I didn't meet my father till I was 37 years old. I only met him one time. My
Mm.
mother passed away. She transitioned in 1976. I was only 2 years old. So the
Wow.
only visions that I have of my mother, when I go into deep meditation, I can go back to when I was 1 and up to 2 years old. I can remember my mother saying certain things to me. You know what I'm saying? But outside of that, all I got is pictures and coasters. I got an ashtray when she went to Niagara Falls in 1969. She was in Niagara
Mm.
Falls in 1969. I still have the ashtray that I have. I have some coasters where she went. So, when I was a child, I never was homeless. I wasn't homeless until I became an adult. As a child, I never experienced lack of anything. Like I could go in the kitchen and eat what the fuck I want, when I want to eat it, how much time I want to eat that shit. You
Right.
know, and we wasn't no a family that had a lot of money, but we never talked about food or clothing, and you know, I've always vacationed. We always went on vacation. It was a family vacation every single year. So coming up with childhood, if you want to say what was provided for me, shit, I was good
Mm.
on provision wise.
Yeah.
Money, food, clothes, the basic need for you to
Mhm.
be in survival mode. I had all them shit, but I ain't had no father. I had dope boys telling me how to do. I had dope boys tell me, "Hey man, you don't never put your hand on no woman. A woman hit you, you get up, you walk away." I was like, "Huh?" He's like, "If a woman hit you, you get up, You walk away. You don't put your hands on no women. I ain't had no father. I had an uncle that tell me never bring a knife to a gunfight. Never do that. He said if a motherfucker play with you, lay his ass out. Let the world know you ain't nothing to play with. So that growing up without a father, yeah, that shit hits hard. That's why I wrote the piece called Fatherless Pain. And I understand, like I said before, I issued fatherless pain to my daughter. So now me being a father that now knows, it doesn't matter what I know now, what I've already caused. It's a function in their lives. So now I got to replace the function. And we as men have to be careful that we're not perpetuating the thing that actually caused us the trauma. Are we speaking about things that we're coming out of? And I never been in a gang. My whole hood was a gang. My whole hood would beef. But if we went to another side of the hood, we was crushing everybody. So my whole hood was a gang. I never had a point where, I had to, go through the whole, get through, because that was a family thing. I've definitely known some people that have gone through that particular type of life, and they serious about it. Don't even play with it. But in childhood, as a black kid growing up black, I mean, yeah, if we're describing what we went through from the murders, the executions, the assassination, if we're going through how they created inner city, why they created them, why they put them by the interstates and different things of that nature, and how every city got a hood, they got a ghetto. That's a systematic thing.
Mm-hmm.
So growing up black, in Rio, I'm gonna have to disagree with you, brother. I love nothing better than to be a black man, to be an indigenous man on this plane. I love nothing better than that. That's the fucking greatest thing in the fucking world. We are the fucking thing that everybody want to be about. You know what I'm talking about? They want to be. That's why they don't want you to be that, because they want to be it. They don't want you to be it, because
I love being black. I just hate our people sometimes.
But again, to hate your people, bro, you gotta hate yourself to a degree. You still defining a hate of a definition that you're describing by the ignorance that were implanted, came into our neighborhoods and made that as a dysfunction. So what you hate is about what came in as a dysfunction, not the people. Because when they did Kings of New York with that white gang and they made it televised, they was raving how well the gangs came together. That they was some great shit. But black people do it together. You hate that shit. White people was killing one another. Nobody said shit.
Nope.
I mean, let's keep it 100. So my life as a black indigenous child, I never knew who I was. I was never taught my culture, my history. I was demonized for questions that I asked because it didn't fit the very norm. And I grew up an angry kid because I ain't had no father and I ain't had no mother. All I had was anger. And it wasn't until love came into my life and nobody showed me love. I discovered love by myself, for myself. Nobody can come and tell you that they showed me love. Ain't no organization, no person. So the love I have for my people now, yeah, I can sit here and talk about all kind of bad shit as a child, but as a child, if I never would experience that, would I be able to reflect and understand what life is now?
So I got a question. I got one question, and I'm honestly about to roll into our normal little discussion.
Okay.
How would you describe the way that black people are portrayed in the media?
Well, we have to understand who owned the media.
They're not portrayed.
It's a systematic. Yeah.
They're not portrayed.
Go. Mr.
They're not
Muno, go
portrayed.
ahead.
They're not portrayed. Just like you only hear about black on black crime, just like you guys say that white people kill white people, they sensationalize, they put on the news what they want to perpetuate.
There you go.
It's not an isolated incident. I'm going to show you what I need you to see. What I want to continue to happen is what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you all the bad stuff. Not
Mhm.
there aren't decent African American people of color, Hispanics, but all you hear and you see as far as perpetuating on television are the essays and the gang members and the ones up to no good. All the signs that you see at the stores and people shoplifting are all the black people shoplifting. They don't put everybody's picture up there, just the black people. Not that the
Right.
black people are the only ones shoplifting, but those are the only ones they're going to post.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that they're portrayed, it's just that's all they're putting out there.
And that's why the other day when we were talking on actually it was last week when we were talking about that video I put up, I asked a question: what is it going to take to re-image our community? What does that look like? How do you take that out of their hands and allow us to re-image it for ourselves? I mean, I think again, my mind drifts back to the cities that we owned. We had our own newspapers, whatever. We reported everything about us to us. That way, nothing was corrupting from us from the outside. You see what I'm saying? There was
Yeah.
no corruption coming in. We talked to us about us, so we didn't have time to look at what everybody else was saying. The saddest part for me, and I'm gonna be real straight. The saddest part for me is when we started talking about assimilating, or we started talking about being or fighting to be fighting this segregation piece, and us being all together with the Wahite folks. That was the worst thing. You know why? Because we had a mind to build already. We had an individual mind to build and sustain already. We lost in that merger. We did. However, it made people feel to sit in their toilet next to somebody that didn't look like them. They got their feel, but look at what we lost. Look at the merger. You see what I'm saying? My heart is for my people. You understand what I'm saying? I go down a list of the things that I dealt with, but I still love my people. I've gotten to a point to where I can look past what they're doing and I see what they need. You see what I'm saying? And we don't need what we're looking at right now. We don't need this because it only feeds in our brain unless you're strong enough to get to push it out. It only feeds in their brain how much less they are in the world, or man, I can't win for losing. That attitude continues to roll in it because all the things that are projected on them. You see what I'm saying? I don't blame my folks for nothing that's happened. I know exactly what the economy for the United States stand for and what they need. So we fit somewhere in their economical structure, and what's happening in our communities, they need it in order for their economy to work like they want it to. So the prisons stay full, the police stay in, the police keep their jobs, all the rest of the shit. We fit there. My question is, what do we do? What do we throw at this idea of our imaging? Because we're different people. We're stronger people. How can the image of who we are fit in an image to help our people realize that they can be stronger than who they are? Not because they bounce the ball, not because they run track, not because of anything that they fit us in, but to know that we're human. We're not just here for entertainment. What do we show? What do we look? And that's not an answer that anybody can answer at this very minute. I get that.
I can
But
answer it.
that's what I think about. Go ahead.
I can answer it
Uh-huh.
in one simple word:
Mm-hmm.
shame. 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 Think about it. Look at all of these other cultures, and what is one thing that all of their children do not want to do?
Shame their parents.
Shame their parents. Right. Wow.
They don't want to bring dishonor to the family name.
Right.
Facts.
In
Well,
our
honestly,
community, we find it hard to shame one another, male, female, anything. But we can bash each other all day for bullshit. But we can never shame nobody and be like, yo, you real wrong for that shit. Like everybody wants to throw some bad shit out, but nobody wants to hear their bad shit. And
Right.
that's the issue with the black community. Nobody wants to bring back shame anymore. If you
Right.
start bringing back shame when these people are going out and causing a fucking scene and shit, if the whole scene is like, man, you on some bullshit right now, bro. If you don't chill your ass out, if every time some ignorant shit starts to pop off, it'll start changing if we bring back a little bit of shame in this world.
That
But
goes back to community.
That goes right back to
yeah, I was
It
about
community.
to
goes
say
back
that
to
go back to the
community.
community,
yeah,
but that also requires a lot of people to stop being cowards because nobody wants to stand up and say anything. Because then
right.
now it's like if you're the one that stands up and says something, then everybody's going to turn towards you, but yet nobody else is going to say nothing. So I mean, again, somebody's going to have to stand up. But even if that one person stands up, nothing may end up happening regardless.
You know how to start it? Stop paying attention to them. They do it for the attention. Stop
Check this
giving
out.
them what they're looking for.
Yep.
Check this out. If you end up having somebody stand up, I guarantee you everybody will come together to shame that one person who stood up.
Yep.
But
Yep.
nobody will shame the
You
individuals
are
who are
so
doing wrong.
right. You are so right. Nobody wants to be the first person to say it.
But if the one person does stand up to be the first, they're going to be the ones looked at as if they're in the wrong.
Yep.
It's
Because
fear.
that's the society we live in.
And it's fear. That's the basis of it. The basis of it is
Yep.
fear. The community's gotten so far out of an order. I mean, I knew older people that put people on the streets in check. That's how we knew we couldn't act up in front of my grandmother's house because they
What?
put us in check. You see what I'm saying? Don't bring
The
that
whole
shit around
neighborhood knew
here.
each other.
Yeah, don't bring that shit
Back in
around
the
here.
day.
I saw you in front of Mr. So-and-so's house. He's sick. Get the hell away from in front of his house. You're making
You
us
can be
look bad.
around the corner and still get an ass whooping.
That's it. You making us look bad. That's what it was. That was the statement. You making us look
Mm-hmm.
bad. We got
Bad.
enough problems as it is. You making us look bad.
Yep.
Hey,
But
can I apologize real quick because y'all are sharing a screen. I completely forgot to get
no,
Mrs.
you're good.
Sigma Uno.
No, you're good. You're good.
Mrs.
Oh, I
Sigma
just thought I was
Uno.
the honorary Negro today.
Oh no. You're still wearing the black skin, so we got you.
For real, you in here.
I mean, I literally grew up the honorary Negro. I was the first child and grandchild on both sides of my family. My mother's side of the family he was in the military. I can't even, woo. So grew up in a military home pretty much. Went to private schools where typically I was one of only a handful of black students in the school, period. Not just in my class, in the school. And the only girl until I was, I don't know, I had to be maybe 14 or 15, the only female child in my family. I had brothers. We are the United Nation of gangs. Red, blue, green, yellow, black. We had a
God
flag for every. You knew whose laundry was in the dryer by the flag that was in there. Okay. But because I grew up in a time where there was community, it didn't matter what colors you was representing. If you was at the house, you representing that house. I don't care what color it is. When we were having barbecues and functions, all of that was irrelevant. You don't bring that stuff to the house. You don't bring that stuff to your mama's house. You don't bring that stuff to your grandmama's house. So if that's what you was doing, that's great. We here to eat, have a good time. When you leave here, you're going to do whatever you're going to do. But as for right here in this household, none of that's happening. In fact, my parents and grandparents, all of my grandparents are now deceased. To this day, don't acknowledge any of my siblings participating in unsavory behavior. I have been shot. I have been, mind you, I'm the good kid. I was just there because I was being babysat. My view on the culture as a whole is askew because I was brought up knowing my history. My great grandparents died at 108 and 104. I knew they were sharecroppers. They got their land from the slave master. I knew how all of that worked. I knew how the progression went, working at the country clubs and being on this side of the tracks is Alabama town. The other side of the track is this. You don't go past the train tracks. The roads in front of the house still aren't paved to this day. To be a part of a community and watch the disintegration of a community is crazy because you can look back and you can see all the points where the community could have stopped and said, hey, cut it out. But at some point in time, there was a whole shift to where the people that should have been in control were no longer in control. And it's that group that was born in the late 40s, early 50s, all the way up to maybe 56, 58. All of their kids, oh, my Lanta. The ones that gave birth to the latchkey kids, the ones that gave birth to the kids that were born in the 70s and 80s, that group of, were those the boomers?
The boomers.
Yeah, those were the boomers.
That whole age group, they got tired of the community watch. They got tired of reprimanding other people's children. They were focused on themselves because they didn't like how that felt, apparently. So they let all that go, not realizing that was the main thing that kept the culture in check.
That was also the crack epidemic as well.
Well, see, the 80s. Crack couldn't have been in the neighborhood with Miss Mabel sitting on the porch.
No.
Yeah, you're right.
You know what I'm saying? Miss Mabel used to sit on that front porch. Nothing happen on the block of 23rd and Sheridan without Miss Mabel knowing about it. Okay? We had our own newspaper. The Northwest Dispatch was run by my auntie. Okay? Grandparents, founders of the local chapter of the NAACP and the Urban League and all this stuff that was founded in that time where they were my grandparents, right? So their kids, the ones that just let us just run a monkey, their kids they looked at their parents like, you're doing too much. And the thing is, they weren't doing too much. They were doing what was necessary.
I think it was because they were sold the fallacy.
No, they were
like
sold
that generation. That's the pretty much the basics. They were sold the fallacy of like life is better over here, so this is how you should be versus how you guys were progressing. Well, with the segregation and stuff like that.
See, and that's a double-edged sword for me because, like I said, our family had all our foundational pieces, so we knew the work that we had as far as a community. Like I said, we had our own newspapers, we had our own stores. There was the whole street. K Street was all Black-owned stores. Hilltop was all lit. The community center was called the Malcolm X Center. There was nothing Caucasian about Hilltop. Nothing. You couldn't even catch a white person that was actually white on Hilltop. They just weren't there. And even Mr. Mack, he wasn't.
Mr. Mack was the only. Well, he was Italian.
He's Italian. He's the.
But I think we did that though. like during segregation, a lot of black folks stopped going to black-owned businesses just to go to the white-owned businesses just because they can,
because
and
they
they
could.
forgot all
Exactly.
about the black-owned businesses.
Right.
Like I think Dr. Umar said that,
Yeah.
like in his
And
research, that's what he saw.
that very well is the case. However, look at
Hmm.
all the junk we got now.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, it's not even half the stuff that we have now is not even worth what we paid for it.
I agree.
We
I
lost
Just
agree.
because
the worth in the merger. We merged with this. We merged with Jim Crow, basically.
a merger was
Yeah,
not necessary.
We merged with Jim Crow, and
it wasn't.
I'm not speaking. You have to understand. I'm not speaking from a place that we're defeated. I'm speaking from a
No,
place that this needs to be. We need to do something about it.
We weren't
I'm
defeated. We handed it over.
basically.
yeah,
We
But
relinquished
yeah.
everything.
in order to change this or to do something about it, I mean that's kind of where I'm at in my head because I don't see it as something that can't be changed. I don't.
Can be.
That's the love.
It
That's a love
can.
I have for my. That's the love I have for
It can.
my people, and and it's not simple. I get it, but it needs to begin somewhere. You see what I'm saying? It needs to start somewhere.
I I have come to the realization dealing with both sides of the fence that I deal with on a regular basis that I cannot change. We can't change what happened. Okay, you can only want
Right.
better for yourself. You can't want better for somebody else
Right.
because if they don't want it for themselves, there's nothing you can do about it, right?
True.
So,
Right.
that being said, now
Opportunity.
everybody knows where we're at as a community, right? So,
Yeah.
and this goes even from now and even back then, right? You had that group of people that said, we don't need to assimilate. We don't need to go to the white water fountain. We don't need none of that. You just want to be equal. Why? The thing is, we were already leaps and bounds ahead of where they were. So we took steps
Hmm.
back to be equal,
It-
We did.
unnecessary steps back to be
We
equal.
definitely
Okay.
did.
So
Mhm.
now you know how the other half lived. Can
Can we get
are
back
you?
to?
It's got to be a conscious choice.
Yeah. Can
You
we
either
fast
want
forward?
to stay
Hmm.
in your step back, or you're going to take a step forward. You can't. Everybody can't take a step forward with you. However, if there's enough people who decide in their infinite wisdom that they know that they can have a better life, better things, better everything, if they take it upon themselves and establish their family in that manner, okay,
Hmm.
then that'll happen for that particular family, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that the whole block is going to go with you,
No.
and that might not ever happen. But as for me and my family, as I said, as for me and my house, we're fixing it.
Absolutely.
This is
Exactly.
how, I mean, and if you feel a certain way about that, change it. Change your
Yeah.
household. If you feel that, we are undeserving and you deserve so much more, by all means, step out, go get yours. I'm not going to be jealous. I ain't mad at you. But as for me and mine, we're not going.
No.
Mm-mm.
No.
My grandchildren don't act like tribal children.
Bruh,
They don't.
don't
they
talk about my
are
kids.
very aware of themselves, more aware of themselves than some people 3 times their age.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean that's how I was raised. I wasn't raised at 3, and I wasn't raised at 5. How things were supposed to go. I wasn't talked to as an infant, like an infant. I wasn't talked to like a 3-year-old. I was talked to, and I was being conversed with as wherever that person was at that time. My parents,
Yeah.
grandparents, were having conversations with me about teen pregnancy and because all that was
Yeah.
irrelevant because you're too busy for that. This is what your plan is. This is where you're going. This is what you're doing. Is there something in this realm that you want to do? You got every opportunity to do that. We're going to set you up for doing whatever it is you want to do. You don't know, guess what? This is what you're fixing to do. And that's exactly what they did. And I was cool with that. Because at that point in my life, I watched everybody in our graduating class. Half of our graduating class was dead
Murder.
before graduation even came.
Yep.
God
I went
damn.
to more funerals in high school than we had more funerals than dances.
Yep.
We didn't even
Damn.
have One of our school breaks we didn't even get because they gave the school days off so we could all
Go
attend
to
funerals.
funerals. Yep.
So I think it was spring break or something like that was canceled, and because we had so
Dang.
many days off of school going to funerals.
Yep.
Dang.
All of that, I mean, it was what it was. And even though our family was, I guess you would call them affluential or whatever, we still had bullets coming through our living room window. We wasn't exempt. We was in the hood, but that doesn't change anything. Where you are, where you live, does not determine what you will become, what you will have, what you can accomplish. All of that is irrelevant. Do you have to work a little harder? Do you have to step a little differently? Yeah, you definitely got to step a little differently. And the thing is, and I kind of apologize for it later on, but I stand by what I did, is my children went to, again, I didn't do the private school because I knew how that worked out for me. And I knew the things that I wanted to change to make differently. But I also knew that I could not raise my children to be a part of the tomfoolery that was going on in the society around us. So I set them up in one of the best school districts in the state, where they were a minority, no matter what they did. Very, very, very few Black people, and the Black people that were there knew their worth to the earth. And you can call them Uncle Toms or sellouts, call them whatever you want to call them. But they went to a college preparatory high school. They learned multiple languages, played multiple instruments, went to college. One decided to go into the military. Again, they had options. They had options and choices based on them being offered. It's one thing to make choices and not really have a choice.
Right.
Because there's a whole list of people I can think of that went into the military because you either going into the military or you're going to jail.
Those are the options. Yeah.
Those were the options at that time. You can go into the military or you can go to jail.
Yeah. I had a Sergeant Howard. Sergeant Howard, he was from.
I'm gonna give you a gun. I mean, that seems like a stupid choice, but for some people that worked out. Some people, they use that opportunity to get their college education, to get their life together. Some people needed that time away from their social cliques into another environment so they can literally have some time outside of the mess to think. Some of us need to be taken out of ourselves just to think.
Yeah.
Because you're too busy absorbed with all the foolishness around, whether it be, oh my God, the worst thing that ever happened to us was reality television.
Oh, gosh.
The absolute worst thing that ever happened to us was reality television.
Yeah.
I remember the first reality TV show that I ever sat down and watched a full episode of was Flavor of Love.
Oh, God.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah.
I was so disgusted to be a Black woman when that show came out. Because that's what...
That crispy, crusty, crackly
I
coon.
was reduced to this tomfoolery.
Right.
Nobody in their right. Look, I ain't got nothing against Flavor Flav. He is an upstanding gentleman in real life. He is a wonderful person in real life. But there are very few people who can honestly say that Flavor Flav is their flavor. honestly, in their heart of hearts, say that man is their flavor. That they could roll over every morning and be happy and smile looking at that first thing in the morning. Again, nice guy, wonderful guy. But to be honest, be truthful and honest. It's like one of y'all. Could one of y'all marry Wanda?
Oh, yeah.
And wake up to Wanda
Wanda Sykes?
No, you remember when Jamie Foxx played Wanda?
No.
Oh, hell no. No.
I'm not even gonna respond to that.
Wanda was sweet. She had some quirks, little curly wig and whatnot.
But the reality,
you know what I mean?
But the reality,
every time you see poor little Wanda, she was getting her little feelings hurt.
Right. But the reality. But that's what they call reality television, which was not reality at all. It's all fake. You see what I'm saying? Another thing to feed in our psyche, another thing for us to pull us away from building ourselves and building ourselves up and doing what we want doing walking our life's path. You see what I'm saying? So that's that for me. There is a lot. I mean, I appreciate you guys being real because you guys are real people. I
Mm.
just I want to make a move all together that is going to put a dent in all the things that we see that are painful. I just want to give an opportunity. I just want to give opportunity to people. You see what I'm saying? Give them an opportunity.
Okay.
If you accept the opportunity or not, then that's your
Hold up,
choice.
pause. I swear to God, if you say, do you want to accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior right now, I'm ending this podcast.
You know what?
Yeah, all right. Making
You
sure.
know, you know. No. That's that when I tell you that
Is there
stuff
one?
is
Is there
the
one?
doors of the church open. You know what? Y'all ain't right. Y'all ain't right. But anyway, that's somebody's cup of tea. All right? It's not
Zero.
mine. I've been battered and bruised by a lot of things, and that's one of them. But at the end of the day, I just want to again. I see people that have this young people that have this fire to do something and skill to do something with no opportunity. You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
Okay.
just wanted to
I,
just want to
I,
give this what we talked about already. Your incubator system, the nonprofit for us that for us to pull young people in that have bad experiences, the need to rest and to collect themselves to move forward in life and to create a plan that's actually going to work. If they want that, to give them an opportunity for that to happen. You see what I'm saying? So
Yes.
that's kind of what want to focus on. Yeah, I talked a lot about how I felt and how I grew up, but at the end of it, like I said, all the people that I saw act out and did what they did, I understand the basis of it. I do. Because if you have nothing, if you don't have anything, you don't have nothing to build from, and all you see around you is that's what you're going to grab. You see what I'm saying? We've all done it at one point until that voice in the back of your head was like, "Hey, this ain't it. This is not it. I got to reach for something higher." And I did. They made fun of me. They talked crazy about me. They wanted to come visit me and ridicule me to my face. This ain't what you're about. You're supposed to be down with us. No, this is what I changed. I had one cousin that came back to me and was like, "Man, when I came to visit you, this is the kind of the life that I want." And I'm like, wow, I didn't think I would be able to influence them because they've been influenced by negativity for so long.
Yes.
So, working in the business that I worked in, I invited him in. We came, we hung out. He met some people. We shopped for some suits and shoes. He said, "Man, I took that suit and I wore it almost every day. My wife had to take it and put it away so I wouldn't wear it again." He said, "This is the type of life that I want." So there was something I did was influence. I just lived right in front of my guests, living that way in front of them. Was there challenges? Yes, there was challenges. I had to fight to get to where I needed to be and to realize, hey, I'm not a cookie cutter. I can't fit in the system that everybody wants me to fit. I got to build something of my own, and I have to go for what I know. And that's what he saw. And after he saw that, he was like, "Man, I like that. I want that. When are we going to do something else?" Honestly, didn't take him serious. Later on down the road, it was like, man, he was real serious about that because he was. But the idea is creating opportunities for people that actually want to be lifted out of it, that want to think independently and move on and have a good life. We stop when we don't have what we need to create our dreams. We pause, we sit back, and we try to figure out what direction to go in. A lot of them don't realize I got to go inside and I got to talk to myself. I got to really see if I got to really see what I want or talk about what I want and begin to write it down. That whole writing it down piece has to happen. It just can't float around in your head. You have to write it down so you can go back to it. And if you have to tweak that dream, you go tweak the dream. But the dream is still written down in black and white. And I had to learn that because otherwise it was just in my head and I was doing random shit trying to say my dream is coming together. No, if it wasn't lined out on a piece of paper and I wasn't checking it off or changing it because something happened, then it was not really it was not really what I was determined to do. You have to take time with yourself to prove to yourself that this is what you want. It ain't about nobody else around you. It's about what you want, what you determined to do, and your checks and balances. You see what I'm saying?
Facts.
I learned that from her. I learned that from her. That's when we were younger. I learned that from her, and it was like pulling teeth to get me to do it because my brain was like, no, I got to do this. I got to be this. I got to do that, and I got to prove this to somebody.
Everywhere.
My mind was in a million different directions, but she kept pushing me. No, you got to do this, and this most simple thing: clip your nails.
Mhm.
I don't like no dirty nails. Clip your nails. I'm like, what is the significance of this? That means you're going to take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Simple. Take care of yourself. That's the beginning of loving you, right?
Yeah.
Recognizing that something needs to be fixed or cleaned about yourself. Again, this is it's a process if you want it to be. It's a process and an idea of who you are and what type of living you want. These last few years have been years of complete adversity for me. And the reason why is because I'm really facing my enemy. I'm really facing my enemy. You see what I'm saying? And I realize I've looked inside, I've asked questions, and I'm like, is this me? And the answer is no, it's not you. This is what they don't want. They don't want you to do. So I can't do this by myself. I really can't, honestly.
And Mr.
But
Sigma Uno,
yeah,
I'm gonna pause real quick. Keep on
that's it.
exactly where you are. I just want to say this
That's it.
for everybody in the chat. Y'all are more than welcome to go ahead and add y'all two pieces. Y'all can respond in the comments. We'll bring that up and we'll touch on those on what you say as well. I mean, I want to try and stay on topic. And with that, I'm gonna take it back to you, Mr. Sigma Uno.
Right. So I mean, again, that's I want that hard for my folks because again, I look around and I knew when she said watch your legacy die. I watched my grandmothers, my great grandmother, my aunts. I watched their legacy die. As each one of them passed away, a portion of the legacy died, and all there was unruly people pretending like they wanted to be family, hurting family members, doing wrong to other family members. They wouldn't have ever stood for that. You see what I'm saying? I talked to two of my cousins and I was like, hey, what are we going to do about this? This ain't what they left.
Mm-hmm.
They demanded respect and love for one another. That's all they showed. How do we fix this? And fear initially was like, we don't know. We just gonna walk away from it. Why? This is your bloodline. This is your that's your family, that's your folks. Yes, we cannot make anyone do anything. But what my grandmother and her sisters and her brother did, they lived in front of us. They didn't care what nobody say. You can be 2 blocks away talking your shit. I'm still doing what I'm doing. I'm still taking care of my family. I'm still loving on my people. I'm loving my grandchildren and my great grands. That's what they were doing. They didn't care about what anybody said. And if it was close up on them and you walked in their proximity and you wasn't right, believe you're gonna get it. You see what I'm saying? You're gonna catch it. They put the gun at the door. This is for y'all niggas that's gonna act up.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it was because this is my domain. And that's what I watched. I watched that. Same with my dad. I watched that. To the day he died, I watched his proximity. Look, this is our household. You do as I say. Don't let nobody in the front door. Don't be talking to nobody about my personal business. If they got some questions, they're coming to ask me. This is our house. That's the way that's the way I present myself the same way. No. These are my folks. These are my people. You ain't gonna mess around my folks. You're gonna mess over my people. I believe that's the way. If you're a leader, if you're a person, period, that care about life, this is the way we join hands and take care of each other. Yeah, that might sound like an old concept, but that actually worked. It's written in a history. It's written in Black Wall Street. It's written in Colfax, New York. The history. We all did that. We all sat down and ate after a hard day's work, after building 600 businesses. 600 businesses in one proximity. 600 businesses. Everything from law to newspaper to anything you can think of. They built it. They built it, and that means it's possible. When I tell you, when I first saw that, it damn near made me cry because I didn't believe that we were responsible for building anything. But I know we can. I thought this was just something inside of me that I couldn't really manifest, but I can. They could. They
And
did it.
that is ultimately what I wanted to get into next, because we talked
Hmm.
about kind of the hardships of growing up black. I wanted to talk about the
Hmm.
good things about growing up black. That was
Right.
the I'm like, let's talk about those things.
Hmm.
For example, how everybody wants to be us. For example, how people are constantly trying to hold us down because of the fact that they know other people know what we're capable of, but it seems like we don't. A lot of us don't even know what we're capable of.
Right. Yeah. You're right. You're right. And it's.
I'm gonna send it to Impossible real quick, because
Hmm.
I know this king got a lot on a lot of things about growing up black and what's good about it.
The best thing I can say about being an indigenous man is when they lied and told you who you were and you realize who you are, then you begin to move different, act different, think different. As long as you think you a nigga and you just a black man, you don't enter
You
your
don't have that.
godhood. So I was, and we we be so advocated to do things to prove other people that we can do it too. You don't know what I'm going through. You don't know what I'm going through. The greatest thing that I've realized as a reflection, not grown up, because growing up, I couldn't see none of the things that I could see now. I was
Hmm.
too angry. I grew up 20 years in straight anger and depression. It wasn't nothing that I could see that was good in my life at a particular time. What I can reflect back now and I can realize what was happening good is, in spite of all quote unquote that we claim were tough times, were times that we continue to change and evolve. And even though we did lose the structure and infrastructure of the community still stands. It just needs infrastructure. It needs its principles back, so then it could be taught principles again where we all knew the same principle. We all knew if quote unquote Mr. John, and you, we know we don't walk through his yard. Like he don't want nobody walking through his yard. That was the good thing about growing up, because you understood the borders and the boundaries where we at. What
Hmm.
we're lacking is we don't we have to teach principles again. We have to teach ways of living that's an everyday life. Like, people get up and go to work the same way every single day. That's because that's their nature of going back and forth to work. As an indigenous man, if you understood your actually function as a spiritual being and you begin to live in that every single day, you would live within inside of those principles and you would behave in your actions, which means that you would want to give back to your community. That means you would want to protect your community. You would want to see your community evolve and grow in ways. You would want to leave a legacy to your family, to your children. That's the good thing. The greatest thing that I saw is, rest in power to my Uncle Douglas. I saw him start a construction business in Baltimore, Maryland, and I saw him grow that business. So when he transitioned, he left that business to his son. His son has taken that business and continued to allow that business to evolve, grow, and rise. That's when I understood legacy. And that's something that I say that we go back to teaching principle and legacy. What are you passing down? You know, Italian families, white families, Chinese families, all of these different cultures have businesses and services where they pass down to their children. The children may say, I don't want to run it. But are you going to hire somebody to run it for you so you keep that in the family? Because you can't sell it. It's in the will. See, there's structure that is in the will. You can't even sell it.
Mhm.
You don't want to, got to give it to another family member, but you can't sell it.
Mhm.
That's the good thing that I saw, is understanding how to build. And once we understand how to build again, we'll be fine. It's coming together and really realize, like what we're doing here. what we talked about, offset and different things that we're talking about doing, those are the things that's going to set up. I'm not going to get the full benefit of what I'm starting now. My grandkids will.
Mm.
Zechariah and Zaya, their children will. They'll get the greatest benefit because those things will be implemented systematic. It'll be on automation. It'll be adjustment they can make where they can see where the environment, where the community needs to be grown. They can understand how to groom others to take position because they say this person right here got a great eye and very effective in this area. Let's groom them purpose to take this place. And we'll have a whole funnel system going in that. So that's what I see that's good. Everything that happened bad, now I got a vision for what I can use it for. That's what I see when it comes to being good. And like I said, to really understand who you are in a spiritual sense, like knowing who you are. Do you not know that God is in your DNA, or do you not value? I don't know.
Mm. Mm. Man.
I don't know. Because it's man.
Yeah, you're right. I agree with you 100%. I would just add that it's something. It's
He
something.
brought up the book, Symbols and Signs.
So you said symbols of what? Oh, there it is.
Hold on.
There's the book.
Symbols, Signs, and Dream Interpretation. Man,
Dream.
you always
Oh,
dropping
wow.
books, bro. You always dropping books. I love it.
Man, drop
Hey,
that in the
listen.
chat because I need that. Please drop that in the chat if you
Hey,
can.
look.
Ultimately, what it boils down to is this: each one teach one, and that doesn't
Of
necessarily
course.
mean mentor somebody. It means be the example,
Exactly.
because don't just that one. If you just reaching one and teaching one, that's still being selfish. Because the reality
The
of the
one.
situation is you got classrooms right now with teachers that got 30 kids in it, right? So you
Facts.
got one teacher influencing 30 minds outside of your
Mm-hmm.
community, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you want to teach one.
Mm-hmm.
If you can structure yourself and your life and be as authentic in your life and in your walk as you should be in order to manifest and to perpetuate legacy, then it should be more than one that should be able to see that. It should be more than one person coming up to you asking questions. If they're not asking questions, they're definitely watching, right? So that each one teach one, I agree with the concept, but it's definitely got to be more than one.
Facts.
And it's got to be outside of your household, because
Yeah.
what your household is your responsibility.
Yeah.
It's got to be outside. It's got to be visible. It has to be something that can be.
It's as simple for me as I remember living on the hilltop and going into the corner store, and these two little children run in. One of them had no shoes on, and one had pants on that was completely ripped and torn, and it was not for style, right? Earlier, we were taking note of how many churches were in that proximity. There was like maybe 5 churches in the same area. These kids came in, they stole some peanut butter, they stole some bread, and they were determined to run out with it. So I was standing in front, and I was literally watching them, and I told the store manager, whatever they take, I'm gonna pay for it. But the idea that they had to come in and steal something, that no one was knocking at the door in the neighborhood asking what the need was. You have 4 churches in the same proximity. Nobody's getting out, knocking from door to door, asking, what is the need? Do you know anybody in the neighborhood that needs? You see what I'm saying? That's
Yeah.
taking responsibility for the community, because that's what the church is supposed to do. They're supposed to have a storehouse for those type of situations. You see what I'm saying? So when that happened, I was working at a community center, My sister and my brother-in-law and myself, we were trying to assess in that area. We weren't licensed to do anything at the time, but we were trying to assess in the area who needs what, because we had connection with Panera Bread, we had connection with Safeway, we had connection with these places, but who needs what? So we tried to couple with a church. It didn't work. So we started knocking on doors. Hey, do you know anybody with a need? And we did as much as we could, but it was only 3 or 4 of us. People will remember that. You're not coming and asking for no money or for no votes. We're not for what? I got things going on in my life that I can't even think with 2 hands in front of my face. The need. You feel a need, they're going to remember. You continue to feel a need, they're going to remember. That's what changes things. So you're not just
Right.
a person walking down the street anymore. You're a person that cares about the needs of everybody around you. When you care, they will care. You see what I'm saying? There's a guy that goes around cutting grass for people, beautifying neighborhoods. I think it's a great idea. If they can't do it themselves and they can't think to do it, hey, that's helping. It beautifies the neighborhood, but it also shows somebody cares.
Mhm.
And that's my concept. I'm not, and you won't hear me complain about it. I'll just go do it, because me complaining makes no difference at all. It's just me sitting there complaining. I have to get out and I have to go do it. I gotta walk. If I gotta knock on 20 doors and say what's the need and write it down and come back and deliver, that makes all the difference in the world. Maybe it's one time, maybe it's 2 or 3 times, but I have to begin to do something. You see what I'm saying? And that's my part, because that's my heart. It's my heart to do it, and it's my job to do it. I'm here for that. And it just doesn't reflect on me, it reflects on what I say my word is, what I say the concept of my living is. I have my kids down at the homeless shelter serving soup. We walk down and find out what the situation with the homeless is, giving them blankets and socks. They don't want bread, they want socks, they want blankets, they want something to keep them warm. And they said that to us point blank. Don't bring us no bread. Bread goes bad quickly. If you're gonna bring something to us, bring us socks. Bring us something to keep us warm, because it gets cold out here. We know what's happening in our community, and it's important. We realize there's some people that want to be homeless. That's their prerogative. But at the end of the day, what's our position? My position is I care, so I'm not just going to speak about it. I'm going to do something about it, and that's the beginning. That's the beginning of love and care. I'm not trying to be no politician or nothing like that. I'm just trying to love and care about my folks. You see what I'm saying? That's
Yeah.
the thing for it is what it is for me, and that's because that's what I learned growing up, and that was the good part of what I learned growing up as a child, and learn how to work on cars because I watched my uncle and my grandfather, and my dad work on cars. You see what I'm saying? That was my
Mhm.
first. That was my first apprenticeship, and then cutting grass was my second one. You see what I'm saying? But those are the good things that happened. That taught me a work ethic. You know what I'm saying? To pay attention. Just do what I say when I say it. If you don't, something bad's gonna happen. So that was ingrained in my brain. Listen and pay attention. That's what my work ethic is. Pay attention to what's happening. This is what a leader does. Those are the good things that happened for me when I was growing up. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
understand being thrusted later on in the system, I could literally balance up. I hated what I saw. I hated what I saw. I saw people being hurt. I saw people dying, and I just didn't like it at all, period. I hated the feeling of it. Could I thrive in it? Yes, I could. But that's not the life I wanted for me. That's not the life I wanted from my brothers and sisters or my family members either. It was a horrible thing to watch. But the good things, I know the good things are ingrained in them because we all were raised together. You see what I'm saying? So that's to answer your question. Those are the things that I remember that were good about my life, or black people growing up, because we're accepting of everyone. If you ever notice, we do.
We
You can be
are.
white walking in the neighborhood. If you're hungry, oh, come over here and get something to eat. It don't matter if you're white or not. Come on, get something to eat, come and drink, because that's what we do. We feed people. We love on folks until you do something wrong to us, and then it's a whole nother story. But we are all acceptance, and that's what we do. We don't care if you're OP or not. Come on in, have a seat. There's some ribs over there. Get your plate. We don't serve nobody. Get up and fix your own plate. You see what I'm saying? That's who we are. That's who we are. That's what I remember. And that's what I love about who we
Get
are.
them ribs over there. Get them ribs over there.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
I knew you was gonna say it. I knew you was gonna say it.
I knew he was
Get them
too.
ribs over there. What?
Speaking of ribs, you still got some?
Hell no.
I didn't think so.
Okay.
I didn't think
I
so.
allowed everybody. I told everybody, come eat. come.
There you go. There you go.
Come.
I told you.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, there'll be enough for the whole family left over. Come on.
Yeah, come.
Right.
Yeah, come eat. Eat all you want to eat. All you want to eat.
They was probably mad at you next day, like, why you let me eat so damn much? You were like, I ain't gonna put a limit on y'all.
Didn't do anything. I didn't do anything.
But with
But
it,
yeah,
I want to go
that's
ahead and move into the gratitude and what you learned. It's starting. We're moving into the nights, and at this point,
Okay.
I know it's time to start flowing because Mr. Walter's starting to blend into the back of the seat. So,
Oh yeah. Can't see that guy. All I can see is the gray beard. I can see the
I
gray
know,
beard.
right?
That's how I
I
know.
was
Yeah.
I was editing the episode earlier, and I was like, "Yo, Brooklyn's literally turning into Batman over there." So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I want to hit the gratitude on what you learned. Impossible, I always got you going last, bro. Like, at this point, I
Okay.
always got you going last because everybody be like, "Damn, he said what I wanted to say." So,
Be quiet.
go ahead, Mr. Sigmuno. I'm gonna kick it off with you first, since I felt bad for forgetting about you earlier. I'm sorry.
No, you get it. Yeah, for me,
Yeah, Mr.
it's
Sigmuno.
oh, go ahead.
I
He's
was
like,
like,
"Look, I'm
wait
just
a
bringing
minute. The
something back."
wrong gender is
I
talking.
thought
know,
you
The
said
wrong
Mister. I
gender
thought you
is
said
talking.
Mister. I
I'm
thought you
about to
said
go get
Mister.
You know
Mrs.
ladies first. You know ladies first.
I'm about to hit it like the church, Mrs.
Stop it. So, as much as I hated it growing up, I will have to say that I am thankful for the community that I grew up in. As much as we hated
Yeah.
going by Miss
Yeah.
Mabel's house, I miss Miss Mabel. I miss Papa Desi and them guys next door. I miss the Cobbs sitting on the porch. The Jacksons,
Mhm.
Miss Christine with her clothing store across the street. Just I miss that, and I thank them for being that. I think it's awesome now. In retrospect, for growing up, it's annoying. You can't do nothing when you walk out the door. As soon as you walk out the door, you have to be on point because everybody sees you and everybody knows that you the Johnson baby. Doesn't matter how many 10, 15 blocks away. You the Johnson kid. We know who you belong to, so we ain't got to guess.
Fact.
You gonna get it here, and by the time
Mhm.
you make it back to the house, you gonna get it again. I hated it, but at this point in my life, I appreciate it.
Mhm.
Would I allow that to happen now? I wish somebody would with my grandchildren. However, I see where the need was, and I see that the need was met. Unfortunately, it was not perpetuated. I see a plan to bring back the best of what was the community, and I am hoping that when we put it out there for the community at large, that they recognize it as something that they're familiar with, something that they're missing in their life, and something that they will pick back up. What about you, sir?
Mr.
Mister M-I-S-T-E-R, Mister.
Really?
Missed.
Oh man, gratitude, man. I love y'all, my folks. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the conversation, y'all. Man, you guys again. You guys are juggernauts. I mean, the idea that we went through what we went through, and we're still able to speak a clear sentence. You see what I'm saying? So that we're able to actually articulate and think based on what we went through. That means that we're resilient people, and I appreciate that about you guys. You're resilient, and we have that in common. Today, I learned that you can look back, but looking back only put you in a position to where you have to change what you know was wrong. That's what I learned. It has to
Mm,
change. It has to change. It can't stay the same. I'm only glancing back to realize where I was. This is where I am now, and I got to keep fighting.
okay.
I got to keep fighting, and I have to make some changes. I got to make a change.
Make that
Respect,
change.
respect.
Man in the mirror.
I was just about to say. I was about to say.
I mean, for me, it's always gratitude, because it's men coming together and queens coming together that's really just are able to express themselves in ways that most people wouldn't dare, wouldn't be as vulnerable, wouldn't be as transparent. You know, a lot of people that when they watch these videos for the first time, that's the first time they're going to realize that I had dealt with depression for over a decade. So a lot of people
Mm,
don't know because those silent wars was quiet. You know, so
yeah,
the gratitude to be here, to be able to express ideas, different principles, different ways that each one has to offer. It's a great platform. I appreciate you for inviting me on from the very first time. I thank you. And I learned that, you know, with a community, there's nothing that cannot be done. It's still the most resilient infrastructure that cannot be taken away is the community. Once you build
mm,
that, they can't tear that shit down. We just have to
mm,
watch what we let into our community
That part.
and structure it properly. Structure it properly. That's
yeah,
what I learned.
yeah.
Bless up, bless up, bless up. For me, I am grateful for the fact that the way that I was brought up, even with it kind of being sheltered and then me going out on my own, I have still dealt with things to where it's able to build some type of rapport with other individuals who are like myself, other melanated individuals. I mean, we all come from different walks of life, but we all have been through similar struggles. We all have been through similar situations. We can relate to each other in, at the minimum, one or two ways. So that is one thing that I'm grateful for. Now, something I learned today is when it comes down to looking back into the past of everything that we have been through, or even just growing up the way that we have, we're still able to find things to laugh about. We're still able to find good in things. And I mean, that right there should just show the people that no matter how much y'all look at us as being these angry, rage and filled, heartless people, that's not what it is. We deal with things and we deal with them differently than how others may deal with them. We still sit around and we are one of the most loving and kind individuals. Just don't get it twisted. I mean, if
Mm,
put it in a particular way, anybody who gets their back pushed up against a corner is going to fight for their life.
That's it.
yes,
That's it.
for sure.
That's it.
Anytime you put somebody in a horrible situation, they have one of two options: fight or flight. And it just happens a lot of us will turn to fight. Not many of us
Mhm.
will run. Just because of the way that we were brought up. It was like I've been I know mom's probably gonna say it. All my life I had to fight. Like, why am I gonna stop now? You know? So when it comes down to it, I have to say that's something that I definitely learned. I'm A lot of us are warriors, and we're warriors in many different ways. I mean, we can sit here and speak politics if we need to. Most of us, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not one of those. But at the same time, I'm like, we will fight in any situation that we end up coming into to where we need to fight, whether it's for ourselves or for those that we love, and then for a lot of us, for those that we know are being wronged.
Right.
So, I mean, when you sit here and you see a black person, you want to clench your purse. Trust me, baby girl,
Mm,
there ain't nothing in there that we want. We can get it our damn selves.
mm-hmm. Exactly.
If you see one of us and you questioning why we're in a grocery store, it's because we probably got kids or our family that we're trying to feed. Now, I
Right.
mean, we're in a time now where a lot of us don't really even need to steal. And I mean, half the time, if we do steal, it's because of the fact that you're thinking we're going to steal. So we're like, you know what? Fuck you. Just because of the fact that you thought I was going to, fuck your shop. Give me this. So, true talk, no lie. I mean, with it, we are people. And a
Right.
lot of individuals have been indoctrined, which talking about how Mr. Sigma Uno earlier about the police. The police were originally created to police slaves. And I mean,
Slave
with it,
patrol.
why police do not see us as human beings. They see us as animals. That's why it makes it so easy for them to be able to kill us off the way that they do, which has made it indoctrined to other people who are not of our skin tone to see us as those things. And the reason why, I believe it was down in the bayou back in the day, they used to take black babies and they hang them up as alligator bait to try and catch alligators.
Right.
Being of
Wow.
would end up drawing alligators, and that's how they would catch the alligators. I'm like chicken, but anyway, I'm like the same reason why they decided to hang black people up as sports, or even let us loose to try and run away to go ahead and try and hunt us and kill us. I mean, they saw it as we were animals, and therefore with that, it was game. Hence the word game. But with that, this was another episode of Divine Time. I am so grateful for everybody who made it in. I could not, I could do this without y'all, but I mean, I love doing it with y'all because it's so much more fun. And with that, get off right here. I want y'all to go ahead and stand on because I got to use the pass to y'all.
Just take a step, rise above.